Chapter 391, Purchasing Materials. The dawn twilight was revealed on the east horizon when Tang Xiu returned to Blue Star Villa complex. Although he didn't sleep all night, he was still full of vigor and spirit at the moment. What he didn't expect was that Shui Chao's wife, Du Wan, had already woken up and was busy in the kitchen. "Big sis-in-law, it's so early." After greeting her, Tang Xiu was about to go to the second floor to change his clothes. Wearing an apron, Du Wan turned around, smiled and said, "I usually get up early at home. It's a habit." "Boss Tang, a woman came last night. She should be your girlfriend, right?" "Girlfriend?" Tang Xiu thought of Kong Xia. He smiled and didn't explain, only nodded and said, "I got it. Big sis-in-law, don't imitate Shui Chao in calling me Boss Tang. Just call me Tang Xiu. It's fine." "Well, go busy yourself. I'll go upstairs to change my clothes." "Okay. Go ahead and wait for breakfast." Du Wan faintly smiled and went back to cooking. When he went to the second floor bedroom, Tang Xiu saw Kong Xia still sleeping in a man's white shirt. Her sleeping posture looked very attractive, curling up sideways like a sleeping kitten. Her sensual mouth occasionally let out a groan, likely having a delicious meal in a dream. Tang Xiu chuckled and reached out his hand to draw the blanket and cover her body. He then walked to the cloakroom to take clean clothes. After taking a shower, his whole body felt fresh and refreshed, as he then put on the clean clothes. Just as he came out of the bathroom's door, he saw that Kong Xia had woken up, leaning on the bedhead, watching him with a smile. "You woke up?" Tang Xiu said with a smile. Kong Xia nodded with a smile. "Our God's Nectar won the first place in the wine tasting conference. It was an instant hit. I came back here last night, wanting to celebrate it with you. But you wasn't home and I couldn't get you on the phone." With a surprised look, Tang Xiu then picked up the phone on the TV cabinet. After taking a glance at it, he said with a smile, "No wonder there was no sound from it since last night. It turns out its battery is running out and it got automatically shut down. Anyhow, I heard about it. I passed through Jinhui Square in the morning when I came back and saw the news on the large screens in the square. Some media channels reported the situation in the wine tasting conference, focusing on the God's Nectar. The response and reactions are great. The opening ceremony will be held 3 days later. Which place are you going to participate?" Kong Xia said with a smile. "I won't attend it." Tang Xiu shook his head and said with a smile, "After all, my current identity is a student. It won't look good if I look too high profile. Let's see the sales figure for the first 3 days. If the sales figure is good, I'll give you a celebration feast." "Where will you hold it?" Kong Xia said with a smile. "I'll go back to Star City," Tang Xiu said. Kong Xia's eyes lit up. She was pleasantly surprised as she said, "That settles it then. Anyways, the one living downstairs is your classmate? With his wife and child?"
"Yeah,
he's my dorm and classmate." Tang Xiu nodded and said, "That buddy is really amazing. In his first day at Shanghai, he got injured due to helping someone, thus he got hospitalized in Shanghai First Public Hospital. I went to visit him yesterday and found that he was destitute. Furthermore, his wife and son came down from the mountains to Shanghai to find him, and they were staying in the hospital. Hence, I made them come live here." Kong Xia suddenly understood, and said with a smile, "Someone who acts courageously like that at least is not a bad guy. Do you intend to make them live here forever?" "That won't do." Tang Xiu said with a smile, "After Shui Chao's wound has recovered, he will have to live in the campus dormitory. As for his wife and child, we'll see how he would arrange it for them. Well, let's not talk about their issues. Since you have woken up, don't stay in bed. Take a shower and let's go downstairs to have breakfast." "You bought breakfast?" Kong Xiu smiled. "Nope." Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "It's Xue Chao's wife. She's making breakfast downstairs." Kong Xia suddenly understood and leisurely went to the bathroom. After a dozen minutes passed by, she walked out in pajamas. Because she had brought her luggage from the hotel yesterday, she took out a neat set of clothes from the inside and walked downstairs with Tang Xiu. "By the way, I plan to return to Star City in the evening. Do you have anything to do today? You want me to accompany you? Do you know the current price for fine iron?" Tang Xiu thought for a while and then asked. "I don't know much about this." Kong Xia shook her head. "Never mind then." Tang Xiu said, "I'll tell Qinan to take care of it. Anyhow, since you're going to leave this evening, let's go buy something. I'm afraid I'll be quite busy for some time henceforth." "Busy with what?" Kong Xia curiously asked. "Crafting tools." Tang Xiu smiled slightly and said. "What tools?" Kong Xia asked with a confused expression. "You have yet to officially tread on the cultivation path, so it's natural that you don't know about refining tools and such." Tang Xiu said with a smile, "In the future, after you can sense qi circulation and have a perfect command of it, I'll tell you about crafting tools." Having said that, Tang Xiu then dialed Shinan's cell number and said, "Help me buy some steel ingots and iron ores. I'll text you the quantity later. Buy all of them by tonight and send them to the location I'll tell you." "Affirmative." Qinan quickly complied. During the wait for breakfast, Tang Xiu sent a text message with the details, the address where to buy them, and then sent it to Qinan. After that, they and Su Chao's family finished breakfast. It was a simple breakfast with baked salty cakes, boiled rice porridge, and 2 portions of hot pickled mustard that were obviously bought from the supermarket. However, outside of those, each person also got a soft-boiled egg. Simple and economical. This was Tang Xiu's and Kong Xia's heartfelt evaluations. After the breakfast, Tang Xiu said with a smile, "Big sis-in-law, you got good skills in making baked pancakes. It's delicious. It seems I'll be having delicious food later." With an embarrassed expression, Duan stammered for a while and then said, "I was afraid you wouldn't like it, Tang Xiu. In fact, I know I made a simple breakfast. If it doesn't meet your appetite, I'll make something else tomorrow." "Big sis-in-law, this is actually very good." Tang Xiu said with a smile, "I have gone through hard days growing up, as well as experienced starving sometimes. Therefore, you don't need to worry about that. Shortly put, whatever you cook, I'll eat them." Duan finally felt relieved as she let out a smile while cleaning up the dishes. She then said, "That's great then. Anyhow, I'll go out to buy food again later. Are you going to have lunch at home? I'll be quite busy with some things in the next few days." Tang Xiu said with a smile, "I'm afraid I won't be able to come back here temporarily." "Boss Tang, are you going to attend the military training?" Xue Chao asked. "No," Tang Xiu shook his head, "I've asked for a leave of absence from the military training." Upon hearing it, Xue Chao understood that Tang Xiu perhaps really had very important things to do. He then nodded, "Boss Tang, can I ask for your help again? You can tell me directly if you need something." Tang Xiu said. "Although I have yet to go to the campus for registration, the school authorities have helped me handle the registration procedures." Xue Chao said, "I heard from Yu Kai and the others that my textbooks have also been brought to our dorm. Can you help me bring those textbooks here if you have the time? It's just that I don't want to waste the time doing nothing while recuperating. I have brought my textbooks, so you can use mine." Tang Xiu said with a smile, "After you read them, I'll go to the campus to get yours." "That's good as well." Xue Chao replied with a smile. Tang Xiu then looked at Kong Xia and said with a smile, "Follow me to buy something." "Okay." Kong Xia revealed a faint smile. After greeting the Xue Chao couple, she and Tang Xiu then left the villa. As the garage door was opened, the duo then casually drove a car and departed. Husband, that's a good car. Du Wan, who was standing in front of the door, turned around and looked at Xue Chao. I'll buy you a good car later. Xue Chao said with a smile. You only know how to talk big. Replying with a smile, Du Wan then went back to the kitchen and began to wash the dishes. For the whole morning, Tang Xiu led Kong Xia to several stores, buying a lot of yellow paper, cinnabar, pen brush, and other items. They bought all the stock in the stores they passed. In the end, the car's trunk was fully stuffed and some could only be put in the back seat. Afterward, the duo went to Southfield Villa Complex. Boss, what is this place? With a curious expression, Kong Xia looked at the surroundings. Her eyes finally landed on the luxurious villa in front and couldn't help but ask curiously. This is the other real estate I have in Shanghai. Tang Xiu said, the next thing I'll do is quite important, so I decided to do it in this place. Boss, you unexpectedly have so many real estates in Shanghai? Kong Xia was surprised. My aunt gave me some, my father having bought a few of them. Tang Xiu said with a smile, I didn't spend a dime for them, nor did I do anything to get it. Anyways, if you have the time to come to Shanghai later, take these keys and have a stroll around. You can stay in whichever place you take a liking. Why do I feel like you are raising me like a canary? Kong Xia smiled and said, but if you could find someone else to manage the magnificent Tang Corp, it's fine for me to become your canary. Making myself more beautiful every day, cultivating flowers and plants, going to cooking class and learning to cook. Don't people have a say? To tie down a man's heart is by keeping a hold of his stomach. I can also. Stop. Snappily glaring at Kong Xia, Tang Xiu shook his head and then walked toward the trunk. Moving down everything he bought, he put all of them into the 10-square-meter garage. Since the garage door was facing the sun, having a higher roof than the average garage and larger, therefore, Tang Xiu selected this place to refine tools. After eating lunch, 4 trucks slowly entered the villa complex. After stopping and parking in front of the villa's front gate, Qinan got down from her sports car behind the 4 trucks. I have bought all the materials you wanted, boss. Qinan came to Tang Xiu and reported, however, since the quantity is a bit big, there are still 4 trucks loading goods. Tell the workers to unload the goods first. Tang Xiu said, put the materials in the trucks inside the garage and then have the other trucks park in the yard. Qinan complied. More than a dozen porters then moved the materials inside. Then, she came to Tang Xiu's side and curiously asked, Boss, with these many materials, do you want to reconstruct this villa or something? Nope. Tang Xiu smiled slightly and said, don't ask more. Send me another 4 trucks of materials 2 days later. It should be about the same quantity. Chapter 392, Sold Out. Night had fallen. The materials had all been transported. 2 of which were taken to the garage and the rest were piled up in the yard. During this time, Qinan had to supervise dozens of porters. As for Kong Xia, because she had bought an evening airplane ticket, Tang Xiu could only ask Qinan to send her to the airport, since he didn't have time. Everything was ready. Tang Xiu lit up a cigarette. After taking a puff, he went to the 2nd floor to take a bath and then went to sleep for 4 or 5 hours. He then went to the study room, where the yellow paper and cinnabar ink were piled up. True fire was needed if one wanted to refine tools. After Tang Xiu employed magical arts to create true fire, he found that his star force within his body could only last for half an hour. Relying on it to release true fire for refining tools was simply impossible. Therefore, he could only use other means, that was, by using true fire symbol. Nevertheless, it would require a lot of continuous star force support for the refining process to finish. All day, for the next 2 days, aside from going out to grab a bite, Tang Xiu only rested for 2 hours, while the rest of his time was used to craft true fire symbols or to restore the consumed star force. It was not until the third morning when he finally made 108 true fire symbols. Each true fire symbol can last for 4 hours. These 108 true fire symbols should be able to last more than 400 hours. It should be enough. Taking all true fire symbols, Tang Xiu then went to the courtyard. He found 2 experts from the Everlasting Feast Hall waiting there. Your duty is to guard the courtyard. Regardless of anyone, you must not let them disturb me. Remember, if some people are too headstrong, don't rashly hurt them. Tang Xiu asked Qi Nan to assign these 2 core experts here to protect him. Affirmative. The Everlasting Feast Hall's 2 core experts nodded simultaneously. Tang Xiu hesitated. He didn't feel a bit relieved. As far as he was concerned, there must be neither interruption nor disturbance, otherwise, it may lead to failure, thus wasting the precious materials for nothing. It didn't matter to him if the wasted materials were only the ordinary ones. But he absolutely couldn't afford to lose those 3 precious ores. Where's Qi Nan? Chief Qi is at the restaurant, boss. Call her here, too. I'm going to sleep first. I want to see her when I wake up. Tang Xiu said. After giving the order, Tang Xiu then straightly slept for 12 hours. When he woke up from his deep sleep, the star force inside his body that had been consumed was already recovered. As he went downstairs, Qi Nan, who had long been waiting for him, helped him to get some food. After eating, he then said with a smile, "Tell them to guard this place for me. I'm still a bit uneasy because of what I'm gonna do next is very important. So I also want you to stay here and personally guard me." "Don't worry, boss. I'll absolutely stay here on guard," Qi Nan exclaimed. Nodding with a smile in a response, Tang Xiu then walked out of the door. After arriving at the garage, he directly turned on the lights and then closed the garage door that was facing the sun. Out. As Tang Xiu waved his hand, the demon god spirit devourer cauldron directly flew out. Tang Xiu hit it with his palms few times. The cauldron immediately turned bigger. In an instant, it turned into a 2 meters high cauldron. First is refining the iron and copper essence, and then forging the ordinary ores. Crafting an interspatial ring was a big project for the current Tang Xiu. Hundreds of tons of materials were needed to fully extract the essence. He had estimated that those materials could only be purified into a fist-sized essence at best, which only then could it be used to refine tools. True fire symbol, burn. Tang Xiu put a true fire symbol into the cauldron. He then began cutting the fine iron piece by piece, each weighing a dozen pounds. Since he already had full control over the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, he was thus able to activate the array inside it. At this moment, along with the true fire symbol burning, if anyone entered the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, they would definitely find that its inside was very big. It was bigger than what it looked from the outside. It was at least thousands of times bigger. Tang Xiu continuously threw the slickly cut iron and copper blocks, as well as the other materials, and threw them into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. Half an hour passed. The preheating of demon god spirit devourer cauldron had been finished. A layer of red, light ripples now covered the inside of the cauldron chamber, while materials began to smoke, even showing signs of melting. Shuangqing Province, Star City. Within the general manager office of the magnificent Tang Corp's HQ, Kong Xia was standing before the window with her arms crossed over her chest, watching the bustling scene outside. Behind her were Scarblade Chang and Su Quan, who looked a bit restless. Although they believed that God's Nectar could definitely get a great start, yet they didn't feel completely relieved. After all, they had yet to obtain news. Su Quan, how much time before the opening? Kong Xia asked without turning back. There's 14 minutes before the stores all over the country cut the ribbon. Su Quan said without thinking. Kong Xia silently nodded. She herself was, in fact, very nervous. As far as she was concerned, God's Nectar was the first product sold by Magnificent Tang Corporation. It was also related to the sensation caused by the company across the country. Thus, it would have a huge influence. If today was successful, she would execute her following plan, that was, listing the two cosmetic products, the skincare lotion and the scar removal cream on the market a week later. If these two products could also get good sales figures, she would also list the healthcare product produced by the company on the market a month later. She had a big ambition. Within this second half of the year, she wanted more than half of the country's population to frequently mention the Magnificent Tang Corp or the company's products. She wanted to make it as everyone couldn't help but raise their thumbs when they mentioned the Magnificent Tang Corp's products. Time passed by. 20 minutes passed by in an instant. Inside, Kong Xia, Scarblade Chang, and Su Quan were silently waiting for the news. The petite Andy then rushed in and cried out, "Chief Kong, Beijing and Shanghai have just sent news. Our exclusive stores over there will soon be out of stock. The 4 stores in those 2 cities have all had their 20,400 bottles of God's Nectar sold out in just a few minutes." Ding dong. A notification sounded from Kong Xia's mobile phone. When she opened the WeChat and saw the video on the screen, a bright smile appeared on her beautiful face. The video footage was taken by the top management of the Magnificent Tang Corporation. It was a video footage that recorded the situation in one of their provincial capital's exclusive stores. It was crowded. The store's entrance was fully crowded. Moreover, many people resorted to sucking up the guards, yet all along, there was no way to step into the store even half a step. What was hot? This scene absolutely could be called as hot. Scarblade Chang and Su Quan quickly came forward to watch the video. Had it been the usual times, they would absolutely not dare to do it. After all, Kong Xia was someone with absolute authority in the Magnificent Tang Corporation. But, at the moment, they couldn't care less. They wanted to know how much was the final sales figure of God's Nectar. Awesome. After seeing the video, Scarblade Chang flung his arms and exclaimed, "My choice was absolutely wise. Before, I followed Boss here to Star City. Sure enough, he can really spread my wings here. Anyways, Chief Kong, do you want to add more production lines? Our winery can produce tens of thousands of boxes of God's Nectar every month now, and I'm afraid our supply would fail to meet the demand later." Kong Xia's expression moved. However, as she recalled the hunger sale plan devised by Tang Xiu, she finally repressed the thought. Shaking her head, she said, "No need. Our Magnificent Tang Corp have invested too much earlier on. Let's do this slow and steady. We'll wait for our money to flow back. We'll discuss about production expansion later." Scarblade Chang hesitated, then nodded and said, "Since Chief Kong is decided, we'll do it as per your instructions." Su Quan's eyes flashed, "Chief Kong, even if our God's Nectar supply can't meet the demand, I think we can still increase the production line once our funds have flowed back. After all, God's Nectar is a wine, which is an easily consumed product. Besides, we are also forgetting one thing, and this time, we should make up for it." "What is it?" Kong Xia was surprised. "Recently, after I conducted an independent analysis of our marketing, I found that most of our clients actually have an inextricable relationship with the government. If there are people among the court officials who we can't get along or are difficult to deal with, and they want to get some God's Nectar from us through special relationship, if we were to refuse them, I'm afraid it would affect the operation of our group." Kong Xia stared blankly for a moment, before suddenly awakening. She then forced a smile and said, "If not for your reminder, I would have forgotten this issue." "So be it then. You go back to the winery and immediately store up 1,000 boxes of God's Nectar. Even if all of our exclusive stores all over the country are in serious shortage, these 1,000 boxes of God's Nectar must never be shipped out." "No problem. I'll manage this." Su Quan nodded. Suddenly, he seemed to recall something and quickly said, Chief Kong, can we send some of them to Beijing? Such as the boss's family. After hesitating for a moment, Kong Xia then nodded and said, I'll personally handle this matter. Go. Understood. Su Quan smiled and quickly left the office. Scarblade Chang didn't leave yet. He was still waiting for the sales figures from the other cities' exclusive stores. What made him pleasantly surprised was that, in half an hour, all the other cities' exclusive stores had passed the news. All God's nectars have been completely sold out. There are countless people blocking the store outside, yelling that they must buy it. Many people even want to pay in advance, hoping that the wine can be given to them immediately should when next shipment arrives. Refuse. Kong Xia passed down the order. The restlessness inside Scarblade Chang's heart finally disappeared. He looked at Kong Xia, grinning ear to ear, and said, Chief Kong, do you have any other instructions for me? If not, I'll go back to the winery. Scarblade Chang, you have done very well. Kong Xia said with a smile, Boss told me to reward you if our God's nectar achieved good results. Thus, you'll receive double from this month onwards. And you'll also receive the dividends from your share by the end of the year. Thank you, Chief Kong. Scarblade Chang's eyes turned bright, and said with a smile, Please help me convey my gratitude to Big Boss. Go. Kong Xia waved her hand, and said with a smile, a few days later, the boss will probably come back here to give us a celebration party. Make preparations on your side, all right? Affirmative. The smile on Scarblade Chang's face turned thicker. Chapter 393, Successful Crafting. Heat waves and flames surged in the villa's garage at Southfield Villa Complex. Tang Shou's naked upper body was streaming with sweat, while his arms were like machines that threw materials into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. Under the control of his spiritual sense, each piece of fire iron, copper essence, ore, and other materials, after being thrown into the cauldron, they were then melted into a slurry liquid. Along with the high temperature, it evaporated, leaving a strand wire-sized essence remaining. What a great cauldron! The smile on Tang Shou's face didn't recede. He was confident that if he had this demon god spirit devourer cauldron in the immortal world, regardless of crafting tools or concocting pills, his efficiency would have increased by several times. Chi Nan, tell them to move the materials over here. Affirmative. The auto door opened as surging heat waves made Chi Nan take a few steps backward, leaving a horrified look on her gorgeous face. Boss, will you be alright staying for long periods in such a high temperature? Despite knowing Tang Shou's ability, Chi Nan couldn't help but ask loudly as she entered the garage and withstood the heat waves. Chi Nan could feel that merely the temperature in the garage was probably over 50 degrees Celsius, let alone the temperature in the cauldron. Even the lamps inside the room had been extinguished. Evidently, the high temperature caused a problem in the power line. It's nothing. Tang Shou grinned, this temperature won't hurt me. Don't waste time, tell them to move all the materials inside. If the workload is too big, assign some more people to the task. Boss, this task is really big. I'll call more people over. Chi Nan said, only, can this cauldron hold so many materials? There was a car's worth of materials here, didn't they still disappear? Tang Shou smiled lightly and said, all right, just worry about the things you need to worry about, not the things you don't need to. Yes. Chi Nan obeyed and respectfully nodded. Time fleeted by, and 6 days passed in an instant. In these 6 days, Tang Shou nearly hadn't any meals, drink or sleep, only watched the refining process in the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. Finally, all the purchased ordinary materials had been fully used, leaving an adult fist-sized essence inside the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. An opportunity like this won't come around again. Tang Shou furrowed his brows and looked outside the garage. However, under the night sky, more than 10 core members of Everlasting Feast Hall were actually sitting exhausted on the ground, breathing heavily. They were so tired that they were unable to lift their fingers. Nan, contact the numbers I gave you before. Tell them to come here as fast as possible. Tang Xiu frowned and glanced at Nan outside the garage. All right. A few minutes later, Nan made a phone call. After telling them, they rushed over from Star City by truck and then arrived outside the villa complex. Nan then took her car to fetch them at maximum speed. Move them inside. Upon seeing Banzhou, Tang Xiu immediately shouted without hesitation. Seeing Tang Xiu again made Banzhou seethe with excitement. But at this moment, he could only suppress his excitement due to the circumstances. He quickly opened the truck door and moved a few slabs of sky sandstone weighing several 100 pounds each. Where should we put these, boss? Banzhou endured the high temperature and asked. Put them on the ground. You've accomplished your task. Tang Xiu said, go now. Since you have come to Shanghai, just have fun around for 2 days, and then get busy with your other tasks. Boss, I still have some things I haven't reported to you. Banzhou said, how about I and the others wait until you're done, and then report them to you later? Tang Xiu nodded and watched as they left. Without hesitation, he threw the sky sandstones into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. 2 hours later, Tang Xiu looked particularly more serious. After he closed the garage door, he threw a wintertide fluorite and a star fragment stone into the cauldron. Simultaneously, he also released the imperial wind technique as his tiptoes floated in midair, and his palms continued making seals. The palm seals then formed veined patterns. The empty lines circulated and then entered into the materials within the cauldron. Then, the star array technique lined up, extracting the essence, and emitting a strong constrictive aura. Retreat. Move back quickly. Nan and several big men suddenly felt a suffocating aura as they rushed outside the villa. After they withdrew for tens of meters away from the villa, only then did they stop and looked back with tense expressions. Chief Nan, what's going on? A big man quickly asked. Don't ask. You shouldn't ask. Nan growled, the boss gave a command before. You mustn't talk about what he is doing. Treat it as if nothing is happening here. Affirmative. The strong man nodded. Nan's eyes glinted as she stood outside the villa's courtyard, watching the inside through the front gate. With such strong, oppressive aura, Tang Xiu was unexpectedly not coming out. She was very curious, how strong was this boss of hers? How could he have so many mysterious techniques? Tang Xiu floated midair before the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. When his star force entered the lump of fist-sized material, his expression turned particularly serious. His figure dashed to the corner of the garage lightning fast, taking the void crackstone and firmly holding it. A void crackstone is needed to refine an interspatial ring. Since there are many materials here, I can make a dagger as well. Tang Xiu's mind revolved faster. The lump of essences were being refined. In accordance with the shape being formed in Tang Xiu's mind, the materials began to slowly change. Quickly, when a dagger shape had completely formed, Tang Xiu patted the array lines with his palm. Condense. After shouting lowly, Tang Xiu's finger moved a bit. Immediately, a band of profound blood channels were added, as the back scaly patterns of the dagger solidified. Tang Xiu's spiritual sense withdrew from the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. A tremor then sounded, as something then flashed out and quietly floated in front of Tang Xiu. Puff. With his blade, Tang Xiu cut his finger. The moment his blood fused into the dagger, Tang Xiu could feel the connection between him and the sharp dagger. He could easily control it with his finger as if it were his arms. Void crack stone. Tang Xiu christened the dagger with the name of Blood Guzzler. He then concentrated and threw the void crackstone into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. As his palm beat the cauldron again repeatedly, The rest of the lump of material essence gradually began to shrink and the void crack stone melted into it. Following that, Tang Xiu's expression moved, and immediately opened his hands. A thought to control 3. At this time, his body slightly trembled. It was akin to the time when he just returned to Earth from the immortal world. His first time refining tools on Earth was more difficult than he had imagined. His muscles were trembling. His blood vessels protruded out, while in his dantian, the black hole vortex finally ceased spraying out star force. Expand and open. Tang Xiu's palm continued beating as it fused into 3 separated material essences. As his speed turned faster and faster, gradually, the naked eyes couldn't keep up with the trajectory of his arms and palms. Following that, the oppressive aura coming out from the demon god spirit devourer cauldron was also getting more intense. In the end, Qi Nan and the others who had withdrawn hundreds of steps outside could barely resist any longer. The residents in the vicinity of the villa were also being forced and suffocated at this time. They ran out of their houses and watched from afar. There were a few courageous burly men who came to Qi Nan and the others asking for the cause. Kacha. While Tang Xiu was pouring all of his efforts into it, he refined 3 interspatial rings at the same time. As the internal space had been expanded to more than 10 square meters, it was no longer able to be expanded. A firm glint then flashed in Tang Xiu's eyes as he pulled out thunder borrowed from the electricity and finally, the space within the interspatial ring doubled. Immediately, under his control, 2 interspatial rings were taken out of the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. He then cast his spiritual sense on the last interspatial ring inside the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. While his spiritual sense was focused on the interspatial ring, Tang Xiu's mind was thinking. My cultivation level is too low, and the spells I can cast are far too few and between. I divided my spiritual sense into 3 parts, yet I can only expand the space inside the interspatial ring to 20 square meters despite detonating it with thunder, borrowed from the electrical power. It's too small, way too small. I put my everything into refining this one, so it should have doubled the space inside, though. With the spells I have just cast, I should be able to cast the 4 Guardian Symbols Great Array. Although grafting the 4 Guardian Symbols Great Array is quite a major issue in itself, yet it can make a lot of room for the space inside the interspatial ring. Let me try then, and see what's the result. After thinking for a while, Tang Xiu then started to work on it immediately. However, grafting the 4 Guardian Symbols Great Array within the interspatial ring was even more difficult than he had imagined. Eventually, after his spiritual power was nearly spent, the inscription barely succeeded. Success. Tang Xiu's complexion was a bit pale. Beads of sweats rolled down on his forehead. His hands waved the moment after and the interspatial ring then flew out from the cauldron, quietly floating in front of him. I almost failed. It was fortunate that I made a breakthrough in my cultivation a few days ago, my spiritual power rising several levels. Otherwise, let alone refining 3 interspatial rings simultaneously, even refining this one would perhaps be enough to choke me. Tang Xiu then put the interspatial ring into one of his fingers, a slight smile hanging on his face. He was quite contented with this interspatial ring. After all, it boasted hundreds of square feet inside and was able to hoard tons of things. Moreover, when his cultivation level increased, this interspatial ring could be refined again, and the interior space could be continuously expanded as well. Extinguish. Tang Xiu waved his hand and the true fire symbols were automatically extinguished. The dense high temperature also quickly dispersed. Chapter 394, Huge Profits. The garage was messy. Tang Xiu used a drop of his blood to bind the interspatial ring. Then, he walked out of the garage. He originally had never imagined that the refining would create such a big noise. However, after he came out of the villa's courtyard, he looked around and saw a huge crowd of residents gathered, along with Qi Nan and dozens of Everlasting Feast Hall's core members. He couldn't help but let out a forced smile inside. Chi-nan, come here. While standing outside the courtyard, Tang Xiu then waved toward Chi-nan, who was 100 meters away. Chi-nan's eyes lit up. She could feel that the oppressive aura had disappeared. Immediately, she gave a gesture toward the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members and then ran toward Tang Xiu. Is it done, boss? Chi-nan asked with a curious look on her face. It's done. Tang Xiu nodded and laughed. However, it has created a small issue, hasn't it? Yeah. The residents in several nearby villas were forced to withdraw some distance because of the oppressive aura. Some even reported that we had no way to stop it. If my guess is correct, the police should be arriving here in a few minutes. Chi-nan nodded. I see. Tang Xiu said, deal with the issues here. I'll go out first. After taking care of everything, remember to help me sell this villa. Leave it to me. Chi-nan respectfully said. Tang Xiu then walked to the courtyard. Picking up his coat and putting it on, he then asked, was there anything important while I was busy these last few days? Your mother called you. She said that she's here in Shanghai and is now at the Blue Star Villa complex waiting for you. Chi-nan said, additionally, Chief Kong also called several times to ask about your situation. She wanted me to tell you that the God's Nectar business is very hot, and all cargoes on display had been sold out. Also, she didn't dare to receive secret orders without your consent.
Ah.
Right. There was also a call from Long Zhengyu. He was looking for you, saying that there are important things he wanted to discuss with you. Tang Xiu grabbed the car keys. After sitting in the driver's seat, he took over his mobile phone from Chi-nan and then said, okay. I got it. I'll contact them later. After starting the car, he drove off. Quickly, Tang Xiu took his huge harvest and then left the villa complex. He then lit up a cigarette and quickly pulled 2 puffs. It was to ease his high tension. Following that, he phoned Long Zhengyu and, at the same time, put on a Bluetooth earphone. Were you looking for me? From the phone, Long Zhengyu's voice came out, Tang Xiu, it's good to hear your voice. I've been looking for you these past few days. I need to discuss some things with you. Do say. I'm all ears. Tang Xiu said. Do you know Hong Kong? Long Zhengyu said, there are a lot of feng shui masters there who are skilled in auspicious feng shui for places, graveyards, and etc. They even said something about dragon veins. Shortly put, I stopped over in Hong Kong and accidentally met a feng shui master acquaintance over there. He learned that you're currently rebuilding the 9 Dragons Island and hopes to have a look at its feng shui. What do you think? Do you want me to invite him to go to 9 Dragons Island? Feng shui master? A cold light flashed in Tang Xiu's eyes as he shook his head and said, no need. You must follow the construction blueprint I've drawn before. There must not have the slightest change whatsoever. We are friends and I can tell you that, if you listen to any feng shui master's words, I'll demolish everything you've built completely. Long Zhengyu forced a smile, so serious? Anyhow, they are feng shui masters, after all. I think you should listen to their opinions. Maybe. There's no maybe, and don't tell me anything else. Tang Xiu interrupted his words and said, you're just responsible for the construction project. If there are any random changes in the project design, I believe you know that the consequences will be serious. Zhengyu, if you think your Long family can overthrow the 9 Dragons Islands project and bear the reconstruction cost, you can give it a try. I got it. It was just out of my goodwill. I don't have any bad intentions. Long Zhengyu forced a wry smile upon hearing Tang Xiu's seriousness and said, since you don't want it, then forget it. I'll think of ways to send that feng shui master off. Zhengyu, you know about my ability in designing architectural projects. Tang Xiu was a bit unsatisfied, and once again urged, I won't conceal it from you. Even if there is a little modification in the construction process, it will affect the entirety of the design. I bought 9 Dragons Islands for 2 billion yuan, and I even invested 12 billion more to rebuild it. Since I've already handed it over to you, I hope you won't let me down. Long Zhengyu took a deep breath. I understand. You can rest your worry. Anyhow, when will you return to Star City? I'll stay in 9 Dragons Island for a few days, and should be back to Star City soon. I'll call you when I'm back to Star City. Tang Shou said. After he ended the call, Tang Shou let out a sneer. Feng Shui Master? What is this big joke? Who in the world could be more skillful than him in regards to Feng Shui? His elaborate layout design for the construction project in 9 Dragons Island had consumed a great deal of his mental force. It was definitely the most perfect one. He absolutely wouldn't allow anyone to modify it arbitrarily, not even Long Zhengyu. Afterward, Tang Shou dialed Kong Xia's cell number. After she accepted the call, Tang Shou said with a smile, "The God's Nectar has hit the market? I heard business is hot and that the God's Nectar stocked in the shops have all been sold out? I thought you didn't care about the God's Nectar's sales figure, boss." Kong Xia said with a chuckle.
Yeah.
The God's Nectar we supplied to the major cities in the country had all been sold out without much effort after the opening ceremony. The second shipment of the goods is currently on the way to our exclusive stores in the major cities all over the country. It should be delivered by tomorrow. The profits must have been good, right? Tang Shou said with a smile. After the finance department calculated it, our first batch of God's Nectar netted a profit of 2.76 billion. Kong Xia joyfully said, as for the second batch of God's Nectar, though it's lesser in quantity, it should also be able to earn a net profit of billions of yuan. Great. Such a huge profit is more than I expected. Tang Shou said with a smile, let's talk about the skincare lotion and the scar removal cream. Have these 2 cosmetics been put on sale? The skincare lotion and the scar removal cream were just listed for sale. But due to the booming God's Nectar, their sales are also hot. However, you also know that it's very difficult to show its effect within a short time. Let's wait for a few days. I dare say that after a few days, the customers who bought our products will surely help us to hype them up. A fragrant wine needs not fear the dark alley, to begin with. Tang Shou said with a smile, besides, we have the magical feature of moments nowadays, so it will be very easy to share the good things. Anyhow, I can't talk much. I'll find the time to make a trip back to Star City. By then, I'll hold a celebration party for you. We are a group of high-class people here. We're all wishing for the stars and the moon, so we'll be waiting for you. Kong Xia said with a smile. I know. Tang Shou replied with a smile and then straightly hung up the phone. Although the God's Nectar's revenue was more than he had expected, he was also well aware of one thing. The winery's production was too small. The God's Nectar that was on sale now was already the vast bulk of the storage volume for months. This time, being able to earn 2 to 3 billion, he was sure that such a massive sales would only happen once in a year and a half. Normally, the business operation would run in a small but steady stream. As for the skincare lotion and scar removal cream, he didn't need to worry about them. These 2 products could smite the products of other international cosmetic industries. At that time, once the testimonies were spread out, sooner or later there would be one day that these 2 cosmetics would become the world's topmost luxury products. Despite so, the current selling prices of these 2 cosmetics were not much different from the world's topmost cosmetic brands. Blue Star Villa Complex. After Tang Shou drove back here and just walked into the courtyard, he saw Duan doing the laundry, while sitting next to her was his mother, Su Lingyun. Mom, how did you come here? Tang Shou let out a smile and asked as he approached. Seeing Tang Shou, Su Lingyun looked happy at first. But after she saw his weary look and dirty appearance, she suddenly looked a bit distressed. She then welcomed him and said, "What's that little thing you got?" The house in Southgate Town got messy because of it. That thing didn't hurt me, but your dad's toes were bitten by it. So I came over to send this thing back to you. The small thing? Tang Xiu was startled and stared blankly. He suddenly recalled the fierce beast he had adopted. A faint smile immediately appeared on his face. He then quickly summoned it within his mind. Buzz. As though lightning, a figure instantly appeared in front of Tang Xiu, and then rushed to his arm, catching him unprepared. Hey, little thing. Didn't I tell you that you're absolutely not to hurt people if there are no special circumstances? Who made you hurt someone? Tang Xiu clutched its neck, patted its head and chided at it. The little thing, akin to a leopard, quickly showed a flattering look. It chimed a few times and then looked at Su Lingyun, like it was saying that it was protecting her. Tang Xiu couldn't help laughing as he patted its head and said, "Remember, you are not to hurt anyone again later without my permission. Otherwise, I'll butcher you and stew a pot of delicious food." The little thing shrunk its head and showed an honest expression. Tang Xiu then looked at Su Lingyun and said with a smile, "Mom, have you got acquainted with them?"
Yeah.
"I already know both of them." Su Lingyun said with a smile, "These two children are pretty good. It's a good idea to take care of each other and live together. Anyways, why do you look so unkempt? What's the matter? And why did you not attend military training?" Letting out a wry smile inside, Tang Xiu couldn't reply truthfully this time, he could only make up a story. He said, "Mom, you also know that my company's products have hit the market, thus I had to go out of town to supervise it. Additionally, to participate or not in the military training has no significance. However, I'll follow your wish, though. I'll properly master the knowledge and cultures and smoothly get myself a university diploma. As for my appearance, it's because I got quite worn out in my trip out of town, so I'm kinda tired and hungry." Chapter 395, The closer you are to a gentleman, the deeper your affection is. There is a kind of love in the world that is vast and selfless. It is the kind of love that is also solemn and sacred. It can make people lose themselves in reverie, yet it can also make them attain happiness throughout their life. That kind of love was the most ordinary one, a mother's love. Su Lingyun had brought Tang Xiu up with great hardship. Tang Xiu could be said to be her everything. The moment she heard Tang Xiu was tired and hungry, she put aside everything to take care of him. She quickly got up and said, "Xiu, rest for a while. I'll go cook you a meal. I'll call you when I'm done." "Thanks, Mom," Tang Xiu said with a smile and nodded to Duan. He then entered through the door and went straight to his bedroom on the second floor. After picking a set of new clothes in the cloakroom, he went to the bathroom and took a hot bath, and then walked into the brand new study room. Within the study room, there were quite a few precious things. At first, when Tang Xiu let Xue Chao and Duan's family of 3 live here, he was a bit worried that they would move their things inside his study room. But looking at it now, it seemed that they were really honest, and didn't move anything inside. "Receive." Tang Xiu waved his hand. All the valuables in the study room floated and then instantly entered the space inside his interspatial ring. There's still a few remaining wintertide fluorites and star fragment stones. The void crackstone has been completely used, so crafting more interspatial rings will be difficult. However, there are still many sky sandstones left, so I don't need to worry about precious materials in the future. Tang Xiu nodded in satisfaction. He intended to go back to Star City in a few days. There were still many valuables in his villa's study room in Southgate Town, as well as some other materials inside the freezer in the Old River District. All of those would be stored inside his interspatial ring. Afterward, during the meal, Tang Xiu chatted with his mother and then decided to return to Star City tomorrow morning. Therefore, he directly informed the captain of the private jet at the airport. He also notified Kong Xia the approximate time he would arrive in Star City. Tang Xiu had tired himself out because of the nearly 10 days of crafting. Precisely because of that he slept from day to night, and then from night to dawn, sleeping for more than 30 hours. But after he woke up, he felt very light and comfortable. Star City Airport. Kang Xia was wearing a beige dress with a brown vest, a duckbill cap, and high heels. Standing at the airport's exit, she looked toward the crowd who were unceasingly coming out of the exit point. As for Su Quan, leaning his back on a pillar, a trace of a smile hung on his face. From time to time, his eyes darted toward Kang Xia. As an ordinary man, he couldn't read Kang Xia's mind, however, he could tell that his general manager, Kang Xia, truly worshipped Tang Xiu. Chief Kang, we came ahead of time. There's about 16 minutes left for Tang Xiu's arrival time. Turning her head, Kang Xia stared at Su Quan and hummed, "Humph, do I look like I don't know that, and need you to remind me? Have you taken care of the promotion plan for the skincare lotion and the scar removal cream? You had better make good use of the time and do a good job." Su Quan gulped down his saliva. Staring at her with disbelief, he said, "See Chief. Chief Kang, you mean, you want me to do the promotion plan here? You can't do it?" Kang Xia gave him rolling eyes, and hummed, "If not, just wait at the parking lot outside." Okay. Okay. I'll do it." Su Quan showed the white of his eyes. He didn't want to go back and stay in the parking lot. Hence, he took his smartphone and pretended to play with it. He could tell that, as long as he stayed still and didn't talk, even if he pretended doing something, perhaps Kang Xia wouldn't throw another tantrum at him. Time fleeted by. After half an hour passed by, Kang Xia's eyes finally turned bright when she saw Tang Xiu coming out. However, her expression slightly changed since Tang Xiu's mother, Su Lingyun, was with him. "Oh. Chief Kang, when did Auntie go to Shanghai?" At this time, Su Quan also had seen Tang Xiu and Su Lingyun as he asked with a face full of a surprised expression. Kang Xia subconsciously glanced at him and then said in a low voice, "You ask me, but who should I ask? Remember, don't speak anything. If you can't help but want to speak, just say something good about me, all right?" A smile was outlined on of Su Quan's mouth as he said, "Got it. I know what to do." Looking at him with a satisfied look, Kang Xia then strode forward to welcome them. "Boss, I knew that you were coming back, but I didn't expect that Auntie was also in Shanghai. Furthermore, she came back with you. Auntie, it should have been hard on you, right?" Su Lingyun knew Kang Xia. She also knew that she was the general manager of her son's company. Therefore, she replied back with a smile, "It's quite fortunate that there was nothing that made me tired. Anyhow, I myself didn't expect that Xiu would unexpectedly make you fetch us yourself, Kang Xia. This kiddo is truly outrageous, you're already busy enough usually. It's me who was willing to come over, though. Boss has nothing to do with it," Kang Xia said with a smile. Su Lingyun's eyes turned bright. She keenly observed that Kang Xia was secretly glancing at her son with a tender look on her face. It was an obvious expression from a girl in love who saw her boyfriend. After grabbing Kang Xia's hand, Su Lingyun then smiled and said, "Kang Xia, don't speak for him. It's your matter as for how you get along with Xiu. If anything, I give you my word, you can come to tell me if he dares to bully you. I'll fix him up." Kang Xia looked excited. It was the first time for Su Lingyun to show such an affection. Moreover, what made her the happiest was that Auntie Su seemed to have said it with a profound meaning behind it. "Auntie, don't worry. I'll tell you if he bullies me. If he does dare to do any mischief to me, I'll tell you." Kang Xia was extremely elated. It was as though sweet honey had been smeared over her small mouth. Nodding in satisfaction, Su Lingyun smiled as she looked at Su Quan, and then suddenly said, "Quan, how are you also here?" "Aunt Lingyun, I'm now working in the magnificent Tang Corporation," Su Quan said with a smile. "I know that. I just didn't expect that you would come fetch us, too." Su Lingyun said with a smile, let us go. I haven't eaten anything since morning. I'm quite hungry. Yes, yes. Let's go, auntie. Kang Xia quickly held Su Lingyun's arm and replied affectionately. South Gate Town. After arriving here, Kang Xia and Su Quan intended to leave, but Su Lingyun firmly retained them. In the villa's living room, Tang Yunda chatted with Kang Xia and Su Quan before he went to talk with Tang Xiu in a room on the second floor. Xiu, since you're here, you can tell me about the details of the situation in Guangyang and Fukong, right? Those people who appeared there, who are they, exactly? Tang Yunda couldn't bear to ask as he walked with crutches and sat down on the sofa. Let me see your wound first. Tang Xiu said. You don't need to worry about my injury. It's fine already. Tang Yunda pushed Tang Xiu's hand away. Shaking his head, he said, it should be fully healed in 8 to 10 days more since the bones weren't affected. Anyhow, don't shift the subject, will you? I feel that something is amiss if you don't tell me. Forcing out a wry smile, Tang Xiu then went to sit in front of Tang Yunda, saying, well, since you want to know, then I'll tell you. But you have to promise me one thing. This must not be passed to anyone else, including Mom and Grandpa. All right. Tang Yunda replied without hesitation. Those people are, in fact, the Everlasting Feast Hall's members. As for what kind of existence the Everlasting Feast Hall is, it is a sect, a martial world sect like those in ancient times, where among them, experts and martial artists are as many as the clouds, proficient in all kinds of cultural and technical skills. All in all, they are a group of very formidable people. If they were to come out and do as they please, they can bring about a huge sensation and would be difficult to deal with. What I care the most is what kind of relationship is between you and this Everlasting Feast Hall, son. Tang Yunda frowned. I'm the Everlasting Feast Hall's master. Tang Xiu said. Tang Yunda stared blankly for a moment. He then rolled his eyes, smiled and chided, don't bullshit me, son. Since the Everlasting Feast Hall is a martial arts sect, with experts as many as the clouds like you said, what did you do for being able to become its master? Tell me seriously. What I told you is the truth, Dad. I really am the Everlasting Feast Hall's master. Tang Xiu forced a wry smile and said, as for how I became the Everlasting Feast Hall's master, it's quite a troublesome matter to tell, so I won't explain it to you. Shortly put, if you run into the Everlasting Feast Hall's people in the future, just treat them as your own people. As for the information about the members of the Tang family, I'll hand it over to the Everlasting Feast Hall later. Is the Everlasting Feast Hall reliable? Can we really trust them 100%? Tang Yunda furrowed his brows. Not 100%, no. But we can trust them 80 to 90%. Tang Xiu said, therefore, our most confidential secrets can be concealed. However, we still have to tell them the information about the Tang family, so as to avoid conflict between ourselves for failing to recognize each other. True that. Tang Yunda nodded. That's right, there's one thing I need to talk to you about, Dad. Since you have no serious problem with your health and body, isn't it time for you to get busy? Tang Xiu said, I heard you were once an elite in the army, and a very formidable one at that. What about it? Tang Yunda was puzzled. What more? Making money, developing your own force, feeding your family. Tang Xiu said, you can't be thinking of sitting idly by and eating a mountain, right? You're still young, yet you want me to take care of you just like a retired person? Tang Yunda couldn't help laughing, isn't that okay? Tang Xiu rolled his eyes at him and said, you cannot be satisfied with this, can you? Though it's not a problem taking care of you, however, it must wait until you're really unable to walk. Besides, you're still young. 40 to 50 years of age is an excellent time. You make money, and make money again, so you can support your family well afterwards. As for the people you want to train, I can help you with that. How, exactly? Tang Yunda asked with an odd expression. Tang Shou smiled lightly and said, you have no credible and capable men, so it's useless to tell you about it now. First, train a group of trusted men, then I can help you develop a group of talents in the future. As for what you want to do, it's your call.